April 15th, 1994, my life changed in a way that I never knew it would. I was driving back from Florida. I was 54 days sober at the time. In other words, I'd gone 54 days and I hadn't drank or drugged. And, several months before I had a spiritual experience, which was very bizarre, to be completely honest with you. I never considered myself a God guy at all. In fact, quite honestly, I was the exact opposite of that. I had a relationship with a God that said, just leave me alone. I won't ask, and you leave me alone and we'll be good. And on that fateful day back in, 2 or 3 weeks before all this, about 2 months, I asked and God helped. And now it's 54 days later. It's April 15th. I'm driving back from Florida and I have full-blown memories of being severely abused as a little boy. And I say that in a way because when I tell you I had no idea, I mean literally I had no idea. And when this all happened to me, I had this really big personality. I had just gone through my 31st birthday. I was this big, rough, tough, bulldozer of a personality. I was the guy who said, if it's to be, it's up to me. I was just massive in personality, successful in my business, and made money, and people respected me. I was a fully functioning alcoholic, if you will, if there is such a thing. But these memories just literally, they took my breath. That's all I can say. They took my breath. And I knew in that moment that my life would never be the same. As I drove home, it just so happens that it was raining really hard and I could barely see. It took me a long time to drive. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm telling nobody. Nobody is going to hear this about me. Never. And then the next hour, I say, I'm going to tell everybody, and I'm going to tell them who did it, and I'm going to say to the world. The next hour I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I just know everything's different. And sure enough, I got back to Atlanta where I lived, and over the next few days, I changed everything. I had this huge protector part that said, you know what? I'm going to change what I know. I'm going to get in a safe spot, and I'm going to feel what I need to heal. I'm going to try to embrace this little boy in me that I realize now was really hurt in a way that I didn't know. I just didn't know. So I say all of that for people that, have had traumas in their past and they kind of, take you by surprise, or traumas in your past that you've known all along about. I'm here to tell you they do affect you. They can hurt you your whole life. They can cause you harm your whole life. And I'm going to tell you how I healed from this trauma. 2 16-year-old boys took a stick and did certain things to me that no one should ever have to live through. I was 6 years old and I called it sexual abuse, although there was no quote unquote sex. It was trauma. It was truly trauma. Worse than that, quite honestly. And I want to be as honest as I can possibly be with you here. As you're on my channel, you're listening to me. I commit to one thing. I commit to being as honest and as open as I possibly can. I will share my vulnerabilities with you. I will share my fears with you. I will share my glory with you. Because I'm telling you today, 30 some odd years later, that experience does not affect me at all. It just doesn't. I went through tremendous amount of grief and healing during those next years. I realized, though, the clarity that happened to me was quite amazing, to be honest with you. As I got back to Atlanta, I closed down my family business. I broke up with the girl I was dating. I got with the therapist I'd been working for a long time. Her name was Nancy. Nancy has passed. Over these past 6 or 7 years, she's made her transition, but she was just an angel in my world. I called her, I told her what happened, and she said, Joe, it takes a lot of courage to even admit it out loud. And I thought, okay, that's encouraging, but I had no idea what the future months and the future years were going to bestow on me. Well, the following 7 years, quite honestly, I lived what I call a modern day monk reality. I lived on less than $3,000 a year for year 1, 2, and 3. I lived on $3,000 or $4,000 a year for year 4 and 5, $6,000 or $7,000 a year after that. I cut grass. I mowed lawns. I did what I needed to just survive. And I did all that because I knew I had to create an environment for the inner child in me, the little kid in me, the little boy that is in all of us, our little girl who's in all of us. Time to feel safe, time to heal, time to grow, time to be felt, time to be heard. And that's what I did. I moved into an unfinished room in a vacant building, and I got safe, and I started journaling. I had done the dual hand journaling, which in future videos, I'll explain really how I communicated with my inner child. I was a very visual person. Some people are very, they can feel it, they can sense their inner child. Some people really hear their inner child. I was a visual, but I did a lot of writing. My dominant hand was my adult, my non-dominant hand was my inner child. And I just started asking some very, basic questions. How are you? What happened? How are you doing? And what I realized was, as I started that process of embracing those deeper parts of myself, the toxic shame voices got huge. And I mean, when I say huge, I mean paralyzing every minute of every day. What were the voices? You shouldn't have let them do that, Joe. What's wrong with you, Joe? Why did you let them do that? It's your fault, Joe. You shouldn't have been there. You shouldn't have been around there. You should have fought harder. You should have. I was 6. They weren't. They were 16. One boy was 17. I could do nothing, but my voices traumatized me even more. The process of going through this, the process of journaling, the process of writing out the voices, two very distinct, different healing techniques. Journaling with your inner child is that wounded, hurting, vacant, soft little precious voice. Journaling with the ego parts, those big, boisterous, bastardizing, I hate you voices, are bullet points in a first step. I did both all the time. And then one day, out of nowhere, the emotions came. And when I say the emotions came, I mean the emotions came. I started feeling rage in a way I didn't even know existed. I didn't. I was in a warehouse. There was a $40 shovel. I'll never forget this as long as I live. A $40 shovel. I remember grabbing that shovel, smacking it up against a metal pole to break the head off. So I had a $40 handle, all pine handle. There was a bed, high ceilings, and I took that bat and I started to beat and beat and beat and rage and rage and rage. And what I learned was rage was kind of okay, but at first it was kind of scary. The things I heard myself say, good boys don't say that. I effing hate everything. I effing hate you. I effing hate them. I effing hate. And it took me a while. But rage is what rage is. And there's nothing wrong with it. Rage as an emotion is a powerful experience. When you use your rage to cause harm on other people, that's when it's not okay. Your anger is not allowed to be presented on somebody else because that's not okay. That kind of acting out of anger is abuse. Hence, how and why abusers tend to be abused, or the people that were abused tend to be abusers. Now, did I go out and sexually abuse anybody? No. But did I rage at people? Yes. Did I act out on people all the time? Yes. Was I addicted to everything? Yes. So my behaviors basically took my anger, that instead of getting it out, I acted it in on myself. In future videos, I'm going to talk about the layers of the emotional process, but I need you to hear me. If you've had trauma in the past, if you feel yourself just pissed off, if you feel yourself rageful, angry, know that you're okay. It's not okay to take your anger out on anybody else, but it is okay to feel the feelings. Get in a sacred spot. Get in a sacred place. Get in a spot where nobody can hear you and let that anger flow. Let it get out. Anger is either pointed out by being expressed or pointed in. It's called toxic shame. How do we heal our addiction? We have to walk out of the toxic shame. Why do we have toxic shame in the first place? Because of all the stuffed emotions. For Joe, the first stuffed emotion I had to deal with was rage.